If love and deep space pulled you back into Otome, or made you curious about what else is out there, 2025 has been very kind to us. What I really love about last year's releases is the emotional range. Some of these games feel cozy, some slowly get heavier and darker, and a lot of them flew completely under the radar. So for this list, I've ranked 20 underrated Otome and Amare games from cozy to dark, so you can jump in wherever your mood is. Everything here is spoiler light, and chapters are included if you want to skip around. Let's start with the softest, most comforting picks, and slowly work our way into the emotionally intense ones. Pre-Odyssey, Love at First Quack is a short, cozy otome that reimagines Greek mythology through humor, warmth, and a lot of ducks. You play as Penelope who meets Odysseus, the clever king of Ithaca, and what starts as an awkward first meeting slowly turns into a soft, supportive romance that feels personal and heartfelt, even if you don't know much about Greek myths going in. The game isn't very long, you can finish it in 1 or 2 sittings, but it makes good use of its time with charming writing, fun side content like a lore glossary, and bonus extras that unlock after finishing an ending. It stays mostly true to the myths while adding creative twists, like Penelope's bond with ducks, to make the characters feel more relatable and warm. If you're looking for a calm, feel-good otome that leaves you smiling, this one is an easy recommendation. Up next is Aroma Love Ready. You play as a perfume shop owner who suddenly survives an accident that shouldn't have been survivable. Soon after, 3 very different men, connected to angels, demons, and fallen angels, enter your life to observe you and uncover what really happened. What starts as a cute, funny setup slowly turns into a mystery about fate, death, and hidden motives. What makes the game stand out is its cozy tone and small interactive touches, like the perfume blending minigame, which adds flavor to the story without making things complicated. If you're okay with imperfect translation, Aroma Love Ready can be a comforting, fun pick. Great for gamers looking for a soft romance with humor, mystery, and heart. Then we have Destind, Mr. Almost Right. This is a grounded adult romance about modern dating and emotional timing. You play as a working woman who joins a matchmaking app and meets someone who feels almost perfect, a 99% match. What follows is a realistic, office life romance filled with dates, small misunderstandings, and the question of whether that missing 1% really matters. Each love interest has a clear personality, from the calm and reliable types to more distant or idealistic characters. What makes Destind Mr. Almost Right unique is how approachable it is. If you're new to otome games or just want something easy and heartfelt to read, this is a solid place to start. Up next is My Love for You is Evermore. You play as a capable PR professional who's been working hard for years, finally getting a chance to prove yourself. Things get complicated when your biggest assignment turns out to involve a famous pop star who was also your first love. Along the way, you can also grow closer to other co-workers and clients, each with their own goals, secrets, and personalities. The story balances romance with realistic work stress, deadlines, and misunderstandings, which makes everything feel grounded and easy to relate to. The game mixes light comedy with emotional moments, so it never feels too heavy or too cheesy. If you enjoy otome games that focus on emotional growth, workplace dynamics, and slow burn relationships, this is an easy recommendation to unwind with and get invested in. Then we have City Lights, Old Flames. You follow Yui during her first summer living in the city, where plans don't quite go the way she hoped. An apartment problem, money stress, and a missing roommate leave her relying on the only people she knows in town, her childhood friend and her ex. From there, the story gently explores growing up, reconnecting, and deciding what kind of love and life you want to move forward with. It's short enough to finish in one sitting, but still leaves a warm impression, especially if you enjoy stories about second chances, old feelings resurfacing, and figuring yourself out in a new place. If you're looking for a gentle, modern Otome that feels like a quiet summer evening, this one is an easy recommendation. Then we have To Grant a Wish. You play as a small, forgotten wind deity who finally gains the power to grant one wish, but doing so comes with a serious cost to yourself. The game leans more into themes of sacrifice, grief, and kindness rather than romance, so it feels more like a magical character story than a love-driven one. What makes To Grant a Wish unique is its gentle focus on friendship, identity, and choosing what matters most. Romance exists, but it's subtle and mostly shown through dialogue and endings, rather than big dramatic scenes. If you enjoy wholesome fantasy stories, pretty art, and character-driven narratives with emotional weight, but don't need intense romance, this is a warm, memorable experience worth trying. Next up is Moonlight Dialogue, a story-driven chat-style game made for players who enjoy slow emotional storytelling and getting to know characters through conversations. You play as the Finder, someone who meets people at a moonlit counseling center after leaving their old life behind. Most of Season 1 focuses on introductions and building trust, so it's more about getting attached and noticing hints of future drama, rather than big emotional payoffs right away. There is also voice acting, which adds warmth and makes the characters feel more real, like you're actually talking to someone on the other side of the screen. Fans of Mystic Messenger will feel at home here, and what makes it special is how flexible and relaxed it is. Unlike games that require you to log in at exact times, this one uses time points, so you can play at your own pace without staying up late. Next up is the secret Fake Ring. After losing your job and home, you enter a fake marriage arrangement with a childhood friend that slowly begins to feel real. The story explores how pretending can slowly turn into real feelings, while you decide which path to take and what kind of future you end up with. The game is split into two main routes, one for each character, with multiple endings that depend on your decisions. There are no bad endings, so the experience stays comforting rather than stressful, even when emotions run high. While the English translation can feel a bit awkward in places, the heart of the story still comes through clearly. If you enjoy childhood friends-to-lover stories, gentle drama, and romance that feels sweet with a slightly tense edge, this is a solid and cozy pick worth trying. Up next is Cursed Covenant, The Demonic Pursuit. The dark fantasy Amara game just released its last chapter last year. Here, you play as a young adventurer traveling alongside a powerful magi while uncovering lost memories and hidden truths. You can choose your character's appearance, voice, pronouns, and even the gender of romance options, which helps players feel more personally connected to the story. The story focuses on emotional bonds, trust, and the question of whether love can exist between beings who live very different lives. Even though the game is made for adults, at its core, it's really about identity, longing, and figuring out who you are. This one's for players who enjoy gradual relationship development. What sets it apart is its balance between intimacy and world building, not to mention the gorgeous animation. Up next is Somnium 11. You play as Arya, who wakes up without memories inside a vast Magitech empire and is suddenly chosen as a candidate to become its next ruler. The gameplay is mostly about deciding how to spend each day, exploring locations, completing quests, raising stats, and growing closer to other characters without real-time pressure, so you can play at your own pace. Building relationships isn't just about flirting. You learn what characters like, give gifts, meet their friends, and unlock private messages and in-game social media posts that make the world feel more modern and alive. What makes Somnium 11 unique is how it combines classic Amare romance with exploration, stat building, and multiple endings that encourage replaying the game in different ways. It's fairly forgiving with stats, giving players more than one way to succeed, which is great if you don't like strict optimization. Moving on, we have Alaris. Set in a fantasy world dealing with a growing energy crisis and ancient magic, you get caught between fae, dragons, and powerful figures who all seem to know more about your past than you do. Each love interest isn't just a romance option, they're tied directly to different parts of the world's history and the mystery surrounding your abilities. What makes Alaris stand out is how much choice and replay value it offers. You can shape your character's personality traits, choose how you spend free time, revisit memories, and even use a special ability to see character auras. Each route gives you different answers, so the story feels like a puzzle you slowly solve across playthroughs. If you enjoy fantasy romance visual novels that focus on world building, character depth, and uncovering secrets at your own pace, Alaris is a comforting and engaging experience, even now, while it's still growing. Then we have Court of Darkness, Temptation's Kiss. You're a regular person suddenly pulled into a dark enchanted world ruled by powerful princes. These princes are after a rare magical power tied to you. But as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that emotions and trust start to matter just as much as magic. The story focuses on mystery, court politics, and slowly building romantic tension rather than rushing straight into love. Each prince has a distinct personality and background, and their rivalry feels more like complicated friendships than outright hostility. What makes this game stand out is its confidence. It knows exactly what kind of drama it wants to deliver and commits to it. Moving on, we have Gangsters in Love. This modern amare blends romance with crime drama as you navigate loyalty, danger, and emotional risk. Relationships form under pressure, where trust is never guaranteed. You start out living a normal life in California until you're suddenly kidnapped by a powerful gang. As you get closer to the gang members, you're not just surviving their world, you're slowly becoming someone they care about. The story leans more into romance and character growth than pure danger, making it easy to get attached over time. What makes this game memorable is its unapologetic intensity and commitment to its genre. For gamers who enjoy romance stories with action, this is a comforting return to a beloved title and a solid pick for anyone curious about story-first romance games. Up next is Dark Knight's Reflections. This horror romance visual novel is made for players who enjoy mystery, emotional stories, and darker themes mixed with romance. You play as a college student stuck in a quiet town where strange things begin happening after sunset. People go missing, secrets hide in the nearby forest, and danger feels closer each night. This version focuses on two characters, Roya and Chain, and you don't need to play the original game to understand what's going on. Though fans of the first game will notice deeper connections and familiar lore. Each route explores fear, loss, and survival in different ways, with Chain's path leaning into slow emotional storytelling, and Roya's mixing charm with hidden pain. What makes this game stand out is how it blends romance with horror, without letting either one overpower the other. Then we have Re-Promise, Promise of Linaria. You wake up without memories in a world shaped by ancient promises and sacrifices. As you uncover the truth, romance becomes deeply tied to the world's history and emotional scars. The writing is lore-rich and emotional, weaving personal relationships into larger mythological themes. Story arcs are structured around remembrance and consequence. And the cast is interconnected through shared tragedy, which gives relationships emotional depth. The chat feature lets you talk more casually with your chosen love interest, helping the relationship feel more natural. What makes this game stand out is how seamlessly romance and world building are intertwined. Next up is Criminally Yours. In this superhero yandere romance visual novel, your co-worker is secretly a villain and he knows your identity. You play as Oracle, a hero who can see small pieces of the future. By day, you're just a regular office worker trying to get through meetings and deadlines. By night, you're protecting the city from dangerous villains. The story leans into obsession, secrecy, and emotional danger. It's bold, dramatic, and fully voice-acted in English. Story arcs are intense and fast-paced, with a cast that thrives on conflict. What makes Criminally Yours unique is how confidently it blends romance with moral tension. It doesn't shy away from showing unhealthy dynamics, manipulation, or obsession, but it's clear about what kind of story it's telling, and it lets players decide how far they're willing to go. Up next is OBSCURA. Set in a masked underground market where everything has a price, this chapter dives deeper into power, consent, and emotional boundaries. You play as someone who has lost everything and has a very real reason to be there. Choices matter, and the game actively acknowledges discomfort. The writing is intense and deliberate, often asking players to sit with discomfort rather than rush past it. Story arcs are tightly connected to character psychology, and the cast is complex, morally gray, and emotionally layered. What sets this game apart is how responsibly it handles dark themes, using strong player safety tools and thoughtful narrative framing. If you're a gamer who enjoys psychological stories, morally gray characters, and romance that isn't simple or safe, OBSCURA is worth keeping an eye on as it continues to grow. Moving on, we have Demonheart, The Cursed Trial. You wake up imprisoned, branded with a demon heart, and forced into a deadly trial where everyone has their own motives. Survival comes first, romance second. This game leans heavily into psychological tension and moral ambiguity. You can play as kind, cruel, sarcastic, defiant, or somewhere in between using the alignment system, which affects how others react to you and how your character feels in different moments. What sets it apart is its focus on paranoia and identity rather than power or heroics. You're not solving the mystery yourself so much as living through it, reacting to events, and trying to survive with the hand you've been dealt. It's best suited for players who enjoy dark stories, flawed characters, and reading heavy games where mood and writing matter more than branching gameplay. Moving on, we have Enshrined, Sword of Fates. You play as an experienced adventurer chasing a legendary sword that appears once every 100 years. But at the last moment, you learn its power can only be unlocked by forming a deep bond with someone else. The catch? Your only options are 3 rivals who were trying to kill you just moments ago. From there, the story becomes about trust, tension, and deciding who you're willing to stand beside when everything is on the line. Story-wise, the game keeps things focused and intense. Every line is fully voiced by well-known voice actors, and the music fits the dark fantasy tone without overpowering the scenes. The plot unfolds over a single day, which helps the stakes feel urgent, even if the overall game is on the shorter side. If you enjoy narrative games, dark fantasy settings, and character-driven romance, Enshrined Sword of Fates is a solid pick. Then we have Neon Clash, Echoes of the Lost. Set in a neon-lit cyberpunk city, this story-heavy visual novel is made for players who enjoy dark settings, strong main characters, and plot-driven choices more than constant romance. You play as a young underground courier who slowly gets pulled back into the dangerous mafia world she was born into. Romance is saved mostly for character epilogues after finishing the main story, which can feel rewarding if you're patient. Neon Clash stands out with its bold neon cityscapes and stylish character art that blends modern sci-fi with dark fantasy vibes. This game is best for players who enjoy long, dramatic narratives, morally gray characters, and a focus on leadership and found family. Otome releases move fast, and it's honestly so easy to miss something that would have been perfect for you. We've mentioned it earlier, if you want something soft, calm, and comfort game-coded, I have a first impressions video on Moonlight dialogue, what the story feels like, who the love interests are, and whether it's worth trying if you enjoy games like Love and Deep Space or Mystic Messenger. And if you're more of a planner, I also put together a video on 20 Otome games that were released last year. Both videos are on screen now. Pick the one that fits your mood, and I'll see you there.